Well, I can't really tell you exactly how many times I've died in video games. I can tell you it's been a lot. But out of all those thousands upon thousands of times, my most favorite way to die has to be in the original Metal Gear Solid. It's just so dramatic, you know? It's the music, the game over screen, the screams of your friends crying out over your demise. It's honestly how I hope of dying in my own life. It's just perfect, in my opinion. And because of that, I don't really get angry when I die in that game. I don't think that that's really true of most games, though. I think I probably get pretty rage-filled when I die in a shit ton of games. But why is that? Is it really that big of a deal, usually? Are the consequences really that bad? I think it depends on the game, probably, but highlighting why you feel a certain way when you get killed in a game can shed some light on what makes a good game fun and a bad one, shit.
What is happening?
Dark Souls is pretty notorious for being a butt-clenchingly difficult game, right? It's notorious for killing you over and over mercilessly, pissing people off as a result. But I can't really say I get too mad when I die in those games. Most of the times I die, it's usually my fault. Either I took a risk I shouldn't have, I got too impatient, or I just wasn't really paying attention. I think the core gameplay mechanics in Dark Souls are really great, and I think the games do a good job of making you feel in control of your own decisions at pretty much all times, except for a few occasional shitty camera controls, but I can't really defend that. I do end up dying dozens and dozens of times during a play session in Dark Souls, but I don't really get too angry simply because I enjoy the gameplay so much. I enjoy the combat of the games, and it doesn't really bother me if I die every hour or every minute. I don't only just feel challenged to keep playing, but I'm motivated to keep playing the game. I think it's really motivation that's important, and I think a lot of games fuck it up more than we often notice. Not every game is Dark Souls, though, and unless a game is perfect for your own individual taste, you're going to feel a significant amount of frustration when you die. I'm a pretty big fan of horror games, but in a lot of them, especially older ones like the OG Resident Evil games, bosses suck monkey balls. The controls are usually too slow and clunky, the enemies are way too fast and aggressive, and they can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits most of the time. I just don't think it works, and it's not fun. I usually feel pretty ripped off when I die during a boss fight in those games. And it usually doesn't feel like it was my fault, it doesn't feel like it was a failing of my own. It just felt that the game wasn't designed to do what I thought it needed to do. Usually when you die in some sort of bullshit way in a game, you end up losing progress too, right? A lot of modern games kind of sidestep this with checkpoints nowadays, but sometimes you just sort of respawn at the beginning of a fight you were in, or sometimes you just respawn to basically right before you died. And that's fine, honestly. It's certainly less frustrating with how big games are these days. Constantly losing progress can be kind of irritating and put people off. I get it. I mean, I get why developers do it. It could alienate a mass audience, but having no big consequences to death in a game just takes the drama away.
I clearly tried too hard. I'll just go rest up or something. Oh.
Horror games usually kill you in more entertaining ways. You don't just die, you get torn apart in some way, your throat gets ripped out, you get fucking annihilated in some way. Those deaths are usually satisfying and motivating because your death is dramatic, it's intense. It's not just about the progress you lost or whether it was bullshit or not. It's about how you died and when you died. That's why, when I was complaining about the boss fights in Resident Evil, I wasn't really talking about the rest of the levels. In a boss fight, you know exactly how you're gonna die. There's not really any mystery to it. I wouldn't say that horror games are really fun, though. I love The Last of Us, and I love the sort of gut-churning feeling you get when you die in that game. But I wouldn't really describe the game as fun in the same way that, Super Mario Brothers is fun. When you get a game over screen in Super Mario Bros., the original, or basically any other NES game, it was a pretty crushing blow. You'd be sent all the way back to the beginning of the fucking game. That's probably even worse, though, than how games do it these days. When I was a kid and I'd play those games, I could never get even close to finishing one. It probably ended up giving me pretty crippling self-confidence issues. And honestly, I don't think I really enjoy that sort of game design either. When I replay NES games on the Switch these days, I abuse the rewind function so much my Switch filed a restraining order. I still enjoy those games immensely, though. The only difference is I'm not really tearing my hair out trying to beat that one Hammer Bro over and over and over. Honestly, I don't know if there's really a happy medium between these two extremes, though. Usually your only options are to feel intense rage or nothing at all. Those are honestly the two things that I feel usually when I play a game. I do think it's important to mention that I'm mostly talking about single-player games, though. In general, I think I probably get my angriest when I die in a multiplayer game. Instead of being killed by some bullshit, you're suddenly being killed by some asshole on the internet. It's made even worse when it's some 11-year-old teabagging you after they fucking wrecked you, too. It's that extra layer of human interaction that really makes me more competitive in multiplayer games, you know? It's personal. It's that shit that takes it to that whole other level of anger and frustration. Instead of just beating a game, you have to fucking win. There's a specific moment in the original Metal Gear Solid where the villain calls you out for not saving.
Snake, it's been a long time since you saved your game.
Yeah? So what?
If your body can't survive the torture, it'll be game over. You really want to travel down that long road again?
The game literally insults you for failing to make your life easier, and then it proceeds to kill you and forces you to redo all of the progress you didn't save over. Sure, you lost a bunch of progress, but you can't really be angry because it was your fault and the game fucking told you it was your fault. To me, that's probably the most important thing to why I get angry when I die. It's not only dying and losing a crap ton of progress, but why I died and how I died. I get angry because in that moment I didn't really think there was anything I could do to not die. It does make me worry about how I'm going to die in real life, though, to be honest. It better not be some cheap bullshit.